With every new day, fresh rumors and updates keep surfacing about Jonathan Kuminga and his future with the Golden State Warriors. This time, though, the latest development comes straight from the very top of the organization. Warriors owner Joe Lacob, who has never hidden his admiration for Kuminga, sat down recently for an interview with Tim Kawakami, and let's just say, his comments gave Warriors fans even more to talk about. Before diving into what Lacob had to say, let's rewind a bit to a moment that got fans buzzing earlier this offseason. The Golden State Valkyries, the new WNBA franchise affiliated with the Warriors, had their inaugural game not too long ago. And who did Joe Lacob choose to sit next to courtside for that historic occasion? None other than Jonathan Kuminga. For many Warriors fans, that wasn't just a coincidence. When you're the owner of both teams and you're attending such a significant event, your choice of company sends a message, naturally. A lot of people interpreted that as a sign that Kuminga was part of the long-term vision for the franchise. But when asked directly about it, Lacob was quick to downplay the situation, saying fans shouldn't read too much into it now. Whether that's genuine or just a classic case of owner speak to keep options open, that's up for debate. But knowing Lacob's history, it's hard to believe there wasn't at least some intention behind that seating choice. Moving beyond the optics of the Valkyries game, Lacob's more detailed comments about Kuminga's future painted a complicated picture. When asked about the possibility of losing Kuminga in free agency, Lacob didn't shy away from acknowledging the emotional side of it. He talked about how difficult it would be to see a player like Kuminga, who has been with the organization for 4 years, walk away. Lacob described Kuminga as not just a member of the team, but as a great guy who's become part of the Warriors family. But right after making those heartfelt comments, Lacob shifted gears, reminding everyone that at the end of the day, the NBA is a business. The Warriors have to make decisions that best position them for success, and with Kuminga entering restricted free agency, the team does hold certain advantages. Still, nothing is set in stone. Lacob summed it up by saying they'll have to see how the situation unfolds. This was perhaps the first time that Lacob has openly hinted at the idea of possibly losing Kuminga in free agency, and that in itself is a notable shift. Until now, most of the narrative around Kuminga's future has revolved around the assumption that the Warriors would do whatever it takes to keep him. But Lacob's words introduced a new layer of uncertainty. Of course, there are still many reasons to believe Kuminga stays put. For one, there aren't many teams around the league with the cap space available to throw a massive offer sheet at him. Even if a team does make such an offer, it's hard to imagine the Warriors just letting him go without matching. Lacob did make one statement that reinforced that idea. When asked about the team's willingness to match any potential offer sheet, Lacob said it would take a lot for him not to match. That sounds like a strong commitment. But there was also an interesting twist in how he phrased it. At first, he made it sound like it was solely his decision, saying for me to match, before quickly clarifying that it's actually up to Mike Dunleavy Jr., the team's general manager, to make the recommendation to ownership. Lacob's signature might be the final step, but it's clear he wants Dunleavy and the front office to guide the basketball decisions. That distinction is more important than it might seem at first glance. Warriors fans remember all too well how involved Lacob was a few years ago. When the team drafted James Wiseman, Lacob was seen as one of Wiseman's biggest supporters. Despite that, when the time came, Golden State moved on from Wiseman, trading him away in a deal that didn't seem to involve much direct input from Lacob. If the Warriors were willing to trade away a player Lacob was arguably more attached to than Kuminga, then fans shouldn't assume Kuminga's position is completely safe. Another revealing comment from Lacob during the interview was that this whole situation would play out very soon. That has led to even more speculation. While most NBA insiders expect the offseason to move quickly this year, with many deals and moves happening before the NBA draft, the timing for Kuminga is a bit different. Since Kuminga is a restricted free agent, his market doesn't technically open until the 30th of June. That limits the chances of seeing any draft capital tied to him in a sign-and-trade scenario, especially with this year's draft being loaded with talent that many teams are eager to secure. Speaking of sign-and-trade scenarios, this is where things start to get really intriguing. There's already been speculation about what kind of contract Kuminga might command. According to Bobby Marks from ESPN, a projected deal could land somewhere around 3 years and $81 million, with a player option in the third year. That 2+1 structure would give Kuminga some flexibility if he ends up outperforming or underperforming that deal. Now, even though the expectation seems to be that Kuminga will likely stay with Golden State, not everyone inside or outside the organization sees him as a cornerstone for the future. Some Warriors insiders and analysts have openly questioned whether Kuminga is truly capable of leading the team into a new era once the likes of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and others eventually move on. Monty Poole recently commented on this as well, noting that just because the Warriors might re-sign Kuminga doesn't necessarily mean he's viewed as a long-term solution. Instead, there's always the possibility that the Warriors bring him back on a new deal, only to move him later in a trade. Financial logistics also complicate any potential sign and trade this offseason. Because of league rules, if Golden State were to trade Kuminga after matching an offer sheet, they would be limited to taking back only 50% of his new contract's first-year salary. That could be a major hurdle. For example, if Kuminga signs a deal worth $25 million annually, the Warriors could only take back around $12.5 million in salary in return during the first year of the deal. That significantly limits their flexibility. This is why there's some sense within the fanbase that if a trade involving Kuminga is going to happen, it might make more sense to wait until later in the season. Once December hits, restrictions on recently signed players lift, and Golden State would then be able to trade him for full value matching the actual contract figure. This scenario would give the front office more options if they decide to make a major move before the trade deadline. But even with all that said, there are arguments for moving him sooner rather than later. For some, the idea of starting a new season with more questions surrounding Kuminga's role and future is less than ideal. While head coach Steve Kerr has publicly said that Kuminga would have a more featured role next season, playing alongside stars like Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, there's understandable skepticism. After all, off-season quotes are just words, and Warriors fans know better than to treat them as guarantees. Beyond Kuminga himself, there's also the possibility that Golden State could include other players to sweeten any potential trade package. Recently, a report surfaced suggesting that the Warriors have at least internally discussed packaging Moses Moody alongside Kuminga in certain sign and trade scenarios. While the credibility of the report remains in question given the sources' relatively low profile in league circles, the idea itself isn't far-fetched. From a purely basketball operations standpoint, it makes sense. By combining Moody's incoming salary of around $11.5 million with whatever Kuminga gets in free agency, the Warriors could pursue a more impactful player with a salary in the $20 to $25 million range. Moody's recent performance down the stretch of the regular season certainly adds complexity to this possibility. After the team acquired Jimmy Butler, Moody became a regular starter, and the Warriors went on an impressive 12-game winning streak with him in the starting lineup. Given that production, there's a strong case to be made for keeping Moody, especially considering his growth and how he fits within the rotation. But if the front office identifies a trade target that they believe significantly elevates the team's ceiling, it wouldn't be surprising to see Moody included as part of the deal. Mike Dunleavy Jr. has made it clear in recent interviews that he's willing to explore any option that makes the Warriors better. That could very well include tough decisions like moving on from promising young players if the right deal comes along. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. The NBA rumor mill is once again ablaze, and this time, the fire is coming straight from the Bay Area. Whispers around the league suggest that none other than Giannis Antetokounmpo could be donning the Golden State Warriors jersey next season. Yes, you read that right. The Greek Freak, two-time MVP and former NBA champion, might be teaming up with Stephen Curry and company in what could be a seismic shift in the league's power balance. While no official confirmation has been made, sources close to the situation claim that preliminary agreements may already be in place. Some even go so far as to say that a signature has been penned, allegedly making Giannis a Warrior. If true, this move would send shockwaves across the basketball world, prompting rival front offices to reassess strategies and cap space like never before. The idea of Giannis joining the Warriors isn't new, but until now it always felt more like fantasy than feasible. However, murmurs suggest that Golden State's front office has been working behind the scenes for months, possibly years, to lay the groundwork for such a blockbuster acquisition. With Klay Thompson's contract situation up in the air and Draymond Green's leadership continuing to anchor the team, the addition of Giannis would be nothing short of game-changing. Reactions around the league have ranged from stunned disbelief to outright panic. Executives reportedly scrambled into emergency meetings. Analysts questioned the fairness of such a move. And fans across social media lit up the internet with speculative trade machines and dream lineups. The thought of Giannis, Curry, and possibly even Wiggins and Green sharing the court has some calling it the most dangerous super team since the Durantero Warriors. Still, many are urging caution. The NBA offseason is always full of noise, and deals can collapse as quickly as they emerge. Until an official announcement is made, this remains firmly in the realm of rumor. But one thing's certain, if Giannis does land in San Francisco, the rest of the NBA better be ready to chase, not just defend, a new dynasty in the making. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.